Hi, I'm Michael Hughes, and welcome to our new channel, Question Coincidence. So what is Question Coincidence about? Well, on this channel, we're going to examine things that happened or things that exist and try to determine the truth around it. Did it really happen? Is the artifact real, or was it made in somebody's garage? So in this episode, we're going to examine the evidence that backs up the claims that something happened or the claims that this particular artifact is genuine, and then we're going to let the audience decide. We're going to let you decide if those events really happened or if this artifact is real. That's the premise behind Question Coincidence. At some point, there's so many facts that stack up where you can't really say statistically it's a coincidence. But we're not going to tell you what to believe. I'm going to show the evidence and then let you decide if the evidence is real, if the event was real, if the artifact is real, or it's just coincidence. Now we're beginning this episode with an amazing discovery, an artifact that was found in the Midwest around and in and amongst dinosaur bones. Now when I say dinosaur bones, it appears to be dinosaur bones. That is, there's eggs and small little dinosaur parts and heads and pieces and things like that. And in and amongst all those artifacts, this was found. Pretty exciting. Now, when you look at it, it sort of looks like a finger. Now, let's talk about how we're going to treat this discovery, because this is a brand new discovery. It's just happened. Right now, it's August 1st, 2018. This is the first public disclosure of this discovery. Now, I want to tell you how we're going to treat this and how we're going to go forward. We've just started. How we're going to go forward trying to determine what it is. So first off, let me give you some background. I'm not a professor. I don't work for a university or any government agency. I'm an inventor. I like to think that if you were also an inventor and you had a few things since the 1980s that's done well for you, you might use that money to check out things you've always been curious about. You know, like shipwrecks and all sorts of cool things. And that's what I chose to do. For example, I found out that there are many discoverers that needed help documenting what they had discovered. So if they were digging for something or they had found something, many times they'd like to have a third party, a separate entity, to come in and witness what they're doing. And as they're bringing up the artifact from the ground or something, they would have a witness to see their discovery. Well, that's what I wanted to do. So if something was being discovered, I put the word out to say, I'd like to be involved and see if I can help. Soon after putting the word out, I had the wonderful opportunity to fund a number of projects and research projects. And then in 2002, I got a phone call from, well, a world-renowned producer, writer, and director. Did work for X Games, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, Dara Padwo Audic. Well, see, Dara was telling me that there's this shipwreck off the coast of Panama that she wanted to know if I wanted to be involved with. And what was really exciting is it was potentially the very first time, the very first ship ever discovered of Christopher Columbus. So you might ask, why am I bringing up the Columbus ship research project if this documentary is primarily about a finger that might have come from a giant? Okay, well, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I don't know if you have a discovery until you get a hold of me. It turns out I do have some products now online. Again, I'm an inventor, and the product line is called Rocket Man. You can go to Rocket Man at getrocketman.com. Now, although I stumbled onto that discovery, it is one of the things that I manufacture and sell that supports me. Well, one of the people that got through to me is the guy who found this, what looks to be, again, a giant finger. So please get a hold of me if there's anything you have that you think would be terrific for me to help you research or document. I might be able to help. Now, there's a comments section here. I've also left a link to an email. Any way we can, just get a hold of me and let's talk about it. Now, aside from that, any comments? This is the first time we've done a documentary like this, and we're just starting it. So do you have a comment you like? you don't like, let me know. And then each episode we'll try to make it better. In fact, if you have a story of a particular subject you'd like to know about, let me know. So far, most of the subjects that I'm going to do are ones that I was actually personally involved with. But I'd love to know more about your story. So please get a hold of us, comment. Now, if you like it, and evidently press a particular button to do that, a bell. All right, if you like this and you want to subscribe, evidently it's free, doesn't cost anything. Do that, and then every time I come out with an update on the giant finger or any other thing, you'll get a little notification, and then you can see what it is. So this would be fun. Again, get a hold of us, and let me tell you more. Now, let's take a closer look at this artifact that appears to be a fossilized human finger, giant, but again, fossilized human finger. Here it is here. Its length is about 8.5 inches long. At the widest portion, it's roughly 1.75 inches. Now let's take and compare that to a man's finger who is a little over 6 feet tall. So here's that comparison. Now, one of the traits about this finger, and I'm going to reference it as a finger just so, again, for reference, is this area right here that appears to be a fingernail. Well, let's look close at that. So what I'm going to do is overlay a finger, an actual finger, over the top of this, and let's take a look at it. Well, it lines up, the fingernail portion lines up with this artifact. Now I'm going to remove the finger and just show the fingernail. So its location looks right to be a fingernail. And if you notice also, the position of what appears to be joints line up to a finger. Okay, now let's direct our attention to a small dark portion just below the nail bed. Now you see that? It's sort of a dark little strip right there. It's not very long. All right, let's look at that space right there. You see what space I'm talking about? Okay, so let's imagine that this is a finger and it's dried up. It's so as it's dried, it might reveal something under the skin that you wouldn't normally see that shape if it wasn't dried. So let's look and see what's underneath the skin in that position in a human finger. Let's look at this diagram. Okay, so when I overlay that fossilized finger over the top of the diagram, you see the portion of tendon lines up perfectly to that mark just under the nail bed. Now, that's pretty incredible. What are the odds of a rock having these proportions, nail, bed, and tendon area to match a human finger? Could a rock make itself to look like that? Well, I guess it could, but it's getting a little tougher to say that's a coincidence. But that's okay, we're not done yet. Okay, now we're going to look at another aspect, and this is where it really gets interesting. Let's imagine that it was your finger, and let's say, just for example, it's your index finger that you lost. Now, if we was to pull your finger off and look at the bottom, and in fact, let's say we pulled your finger off, and this lower joint right here, this lower piece of bone, or this lower bone, stayed with your knuckle. So when I pulled it off, what would you expect to see at the bottom? Well, exactly that. You'd have a hole where the bone was, and any tendons and blood vessels and everything that might be exposed once I pull that off, we may be able to see on this forward edge. So let's flip it over and take a look at it. All right, again, this is where it really gets interesting. If you take a look, I'm going to start with this approach with a pattern. Now this is a pattern of where the blood vessels, nerve endings, and tendons are on a human finger. That pattern is sort of a thumbprint. Now let's overlay that pattern over the top of the end of this, well, giant finger, and let's see how close they match. Now notice at the very top of this, there's kind of a black dot. Do you see it there at the very top? Yeah. Look at that little dot there, and then notice when we overlay this pattern how it lays over. Now, it's not just that dot on the very top, but there's a little trident of it. There's 3 of them. A dot in the center, and then 2 pretty much on either side. Now, watch how all that matches, and I think it's pretty fascinating. All right, do you also notice that there is a perfect position for 3 tendons at the base with the center tendon portion missing? And that's an amazing thing. Now, of course, when you look inside, you'll see a whole matrix of things that's going on. And that means there was a structure that was in here that had to have been removed to make that shape. Pretty doggone incredible. Now, I thought it'd be fun to add a little comment here at this point. Have you ever been in the forest or around a riverbed and found an arrowhead? Well, any of the educated people that are in archaeology or paleontology, if they see an arrowhead, instantly they say, well, that's man-made. Had to be man-made. Well, why? Look how complex that structure is. It's an arrowhead. Yeah, there's no way the Earth could build this just amazingly complex shape. All right, so let's put the arrowhead right next to this, what appears to be a fossilized finger. Could the finger, have built itself any more than that arrowhead? So this is an amazing find. I mean, just think, if in fact this turns out to be a finger of a giant, or even a finger of a man, a human, in and amongst dinosaur bones, this is the first ever found in all the world, in all of history. I think it's pretty exciting. So be sure to subscribe, and as we do updates on this story and others, you'll get notice. And again, please comment, tell us what you like, what you didn't like, what you think of the presentation, and support us if you like. Buy some of our stuff. Pretty amazing things, actually. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to the next update.